At 07:08 a.m. on April 12, 2026, Vice President JD Vance boarded Air Force Two and departed Islamabad. The highest-level direct negotiations between the United States and Iran since 1979 had ended without an agreement. From Washington, President Trump responded with an executive military order. He directed the U.S. Navy to institute a total blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, instructing strike groups to intercept any commercial vessel entering or exiting the choke point. In Washington, this military escalation met immediate legislative friction. Congress initiated a push for war powers resolutions, attempting to rein in the executive branch's authority over the expanding conflict. Lawmakers cited the president's public threat to destroy a civilization if Iran refused his terms. Representatives and military families argued these directives placed service members in the position of receiving potentially unlawful orders. The 21-hour session in Islamabad failed. The April 8th ceasefire preceding it was built on a fatal structural ambiguity. Mapping the 96 hours between the April 8th truce and the April 12th collapse provides a timeline of the friction between diplomatic promises and kinetic battlefield reality. In modern asymmetric warfare, texts negotiated in hotel conference rooms carry no weight if the opposing sides do not share a mutually agreed reality on the ground. This timeline tracks events starting April 8th. The top axis records diplomatic treaties, while the bottom tracks physical airstrikes. Iran and Pakistan assumed the ceasefire applied to all fronts, including Lebanon, but the U.S. and Israel explicitly excluded Lebanon, maintaining active military pressure on Hezbollah. Within hours of the ceasefire declaration on April 8th, Israel launched Operation Eternal Darkness. In the span of 10 minutes, 100 Israeli airstrikes hit Lebanese territory. Unverified strikes simultaneously triggered fires inside Iranian territory at the Lavin oil refinery. Regional proxy groups responded in kind. Hezbollah resumed rocket fire into northern Israel, and Iraqi militias struck a U.S. diplomatic support center at Baghdad International Airport. Because neither side agreed on the geographic borders of the truce, autonomous proxy battlefields immediately overruled the diplomats. Peace proved impossible to enforce without a shared map. The diplomatic timeline faced severe stress at the 21-mile choke point of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran refused to unconditionally open the waterway, instead instituting what they called a supervised pause. This data visualization shows the resulting bottleneck. Over 400 tankers dropped anchor in the Persian Gulf as Iran restricted commercial crossings to dry cargo and demanded transit tolls exceeding $1 million per ship. Tehran then introduced an asymmetric technical barrier. They reported that their forces had lost track of the naval mines deployed across the shipping lanes during the preceding weeks of war. U.S. Central Command responded by deploying Navy destroyers directly into the strait to conduct unilateral mine clearance operations and enforce freedom of navigation. The Iranian government immediately labeled the presence of American warships a hostile violation of the ceasefire. Iran weaponized the world's energy supply as an economic hostage. Superior kinetic firepower cannot easily dislodge an asymmetric maritime chokehold when the terrain itself is weaponized. At the Serena Hotel, competing strategies collided. The U.S. 15-point plan mandated nuclear disarmament, zero enrichment, and dismantling major facilities. Iran countered with a 10-point proposal, demanding a regional proxy ceasefire, sovereign control over the Strait of Hormuz, war reparations, and unfreezing assets. Washington's requirement for nuclear disarmament stood in direct opposition to Tehran's demand to retain its maritime leverage after 40 days of bombardment. Near midnight, the U.S. delegation presented a final offer: phased sanction relief in exchange for the immediate decommissioning of centrifuge cascades. The Iranian delegation rejected the terms, characterizing the American proposal as one-sided and lacking the trust necessary for bilateral implementation. The summit collapsed because both nations brought non-negotiable red lines anchored to their respective asymmetric advantages, American demands for nuclear containment colliding against Iranian control of maritime geography. This map illustrates the macro geopolitical alarm radiating from the summit's failure. European capitals and Gulf nations like the UAE and Kuwait watched as their vital energy trade flows remained paralyzed. The region reverted to unrestricted warfare. President Trump ordered the U.S. Navy to forcibly intercept any commercial vessel found to have paid transit tolls to Tehran. Implementing this blockade places American strike groups in direct proximity to Iran's asymmetric naval assets, elevating the risk of confrontation in a crowded waterway. The collapse of the Islamabad negotiations effectively nullified the 2-week ceasefire. The conflict shifted immediately from a fragile pause back to active, escalating hostilities. 40 days of targeted airstrikes and tactical military superiority could not overcome asymmetric geographic leverage at the negotiating table. The April ceasefire functioned merely as a 96-hour pause to reload. In modern conflicts, holding a seat at the diplomatic table provides little advantage if you do not control the physical choke points of the battlefield.